With covering dozens of cases every single year here on Searchlight, every now and then we have to pull together an update episode to let you guys know how these cases are progressing, what discoveries are being made, and in some cases, what the families are going through. Today, we're keeping the Searchlight on for several cases and asking some questions about other cases that might have hit some form of conclusion. On top of that, a new point of inspiration, a new bright light in the search for missing children. All that and more on today's Searchlight. Welcome back to Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today and for caring about these cases like I do. We've got a lot of updates to get to, so let's get started. Starting with missing person Benjamin Everson, missing from Ajax, Ontario, Canada since July 12th, 2019. If you don't remember this case, here's a little update over at Durham Radio News from earlier this year. This was from back in February of 2020. Durham police continue to search for a man who's been missing now for more than 7 months. Benjamin Everson was last seen leaving his family's Uxbridge home July 11th, 2019. Police followed up on a number of possible sightings following his disappearance, but nothing was confirmed. We got an update a few months after that. This is from DurhamRegion.com. Police have confirmed that human remains found near Uxbridge are those of a man reported missing last year. Benjamin Everson, 31, was reported missing in the summer of 2019, last seen leaving a family member's residence on July 11th. Foul play is not suspected, police said. And unfortunately, that's all we know. I held off on talking to you guys about this because I was hoping that more information was going to come out about this case. We don't even really know what type of location he was found in. And literally, this is all that has come out. So I just wanted to give you guys some update on this case. Of course, we're going to keep following it. We're going to keep tracking it. And if there are more developments, I'll be sure to share them with you here. Let's continue with the next case we're touching on today, a case. Some of these cases get answers, and the answers just don't even come close to addressing all the questions. This is one of those for me. You might remember the case of Marina Bischoff, and you might remember that I've been in contact with her brother, who was working very hard trying to find her using every method that he could find. Missing from Kansas City, Missouri, last seen May 28th, 2020. If we go over to the fundraiser, which we helped support, we can see there is a new post there from October 24th, 2020. Hey, everyone, we have some sad news. We wanted you all to know that Marina's remains were positively identified. The body found in the creek in July was, in fact, Marina. Please pray for peace and comfort for her family and friends during this time. This is heartbreaking and tragic, and she deserved so much better. She will be loved and missed by all. Thanks so much to all of you for your thoughts and support during this awful time. This is just the thing that really bothers me most about this case is I've literally heard from people that have worked as law enforcement that when someone goes missing and a body is found, to really focus on the last people that they were known to be with. And in this case, the last people that she was known to be with are law enforcement. And then we've got some strange conditions around that as well. But let's see what the official word is here about her discovery over at HayesPost.com. Police spokesman Sergeant Jake Bacchina said Friday that an FBI lab had confirmed that the remains are those of 39-year-old Marina Bischoff. She was last seen leaving a Kansas City police station in May. No foul play is suspected, but the final cause of death has yet to be determined. The county medical examiner is still conducting a final exam, Bacchina said. So this article was actually posted just a few days ago, October 24th, 2020. So I'm not sure if that final exam is still going on or if we're going to get some more details about this. The thing that's tough, I think they've got a decent chance at trying to determine some more about what could have happened because we have her go missing May 28th, if I recall correctly, very late in May. She's found very early in July. I believe it's July 6th. So this isn't like some cases where we hear that the remains are basically skeletonized and we're hoping for some type of wound to bone to let us know what might have happened. I think they might be dealing with more than that. And I'm hopeful that more answers are coming for the family, because there's a lot of very big questions with this case in my mind. We'll touch on those a little bit more as we roll through the next article here. But over at kshb.com, nothing about the investigation of her disappearance makes any sense to Bischoff's family and friends. And just to be sure that I'm putting this perfectly in context, the article that we're looking at now was posted after the discovery of the body, but before the confirmation. So I just want to be sure that, we're going to share some thoughts from the family here, but this is before the final confirmation. And I don't know if because of this final confirmation, maybe they've been given additional details and they still don't hold this opinion. I just kind of want to put that out there as a possibility. But at least for us, the public looking at this case, a lot of these questions still need to be answered. Nobody's been able to give me an answer that makes sense, Bischoff's brother Victor said. Why didn't we start the search earlier? Why didn't we take the missing persons report earlier? Police said she made a few phone calls at the station. She left the next morning around 7 a.m. without her belongings. I think the key information we're missing is the 3 phone calls she made in the morning on Thursday, Victor Bischoff said. Detectives said their internal IT team had reviewed the phone calls, but they were not able to identify those numbers. This is probably the thing that bothers me the most about this whole story. I had a whole career in IT before I did this YouTube thing. I served in all kinds of different positions, from desktop support to network administration, all the way up to managing my own department, my own team. I was an IT manager, also development work. Hearing that an IT team can't identify phone numbers that are being called out of their systems is completely unreasonable. That is not something that happens, not even with modern day tech. I would expect that even if we were looking at this case and it was taking place in the 1990s, you would still be able to contact whatever phone provider you had and trace the phone numbers that are being called. This is a troubling aspect to this case. And it's very important because at this point, look, we don't know what happened there. We've got her seemingly acting like she's intoxicated. That's why they bring her in. But her family swears this isn't someone that drinks. So this has to be something else that's going on. We've got someone, not a neighbor really, but someone in the neighborhood that witnesses her get into the car accident before she is arrested, and talks about the fact that she thinks there's something else going on here too. That woman actually reached out to me and gave me even more information about that whole encounter. None of this is adding up to as simple as it's being presented, at least through the media, at least from the police, law enforcement's comments through the media, let me specifically say, because I do think the media is being fair about raising Victor's concerns as well. But this specific thing, I don't understand this. If this is true, they need to release the details of why they're not able to get those phone numbers. This could be a situation where she called someone and that person harmed her. And you're telling me we're down to some IT team that says they can't track those phone numbers? In 2020, there's no. It doesn't work. That is not reasonable. Now, we also have to keep this through the perspective of this is the information that Victor is putting out there. Is that really what he's being told? Are there additional details that they're giving him? I don't know. I have been in contact with him before. We've kind of talked about this topic before. I haven't heard additional details that would make sense for why they can't get these phone numbers. Victor said he asked detectives to check with the department's IP system provider to find out who she called, and he found out they had not done so. That tells me that there's a strong possibility that they're using some type of voice over internet protocol, VoIP system in their police department, which still there would be an actual provider for the phone service over your internet protocol. That provider absolutely has some method of tracking what transactions are happening on their service, including every single phone call that happens. It is not reasonable to assume that that is not going on, unless they're using some product that is intentionally made to hide that information, like WhatsApp or something like that, which makes no sense for a police station. So what's going on with this? This part of the story, it's damaging to this case. If this is going to be a criminal investigation, all of a sudden now it's making the cops look like, hey, we can't even track a phone number that's happening out of our own department. And it actually, from a public perspective, is even worse than that, because this is already a case where you have, hey, look, the last people that she's known to be with are police. They're law enforcement. And they let her go. And there's questions even about that. Should they have let her go? If you had someone that seems like they're intoxicated, did they run any tests to see if she actually had a blood alcohol content? What if she was suffering some type of severe emotional disorder or something like that? Unfortunately, we've seen cases like this, and the public perception of what's going on with law enforcement isn't good when you have these types of conditions. So already having that is kind of a risk factor to this story, and then having a fact like this with the phone number thing compounds that like 10 times. It makes it 10 times worse than if this was just like the Matrice Richardson case where, oh, they let her out in the middle of the night, even though they had towed her car somewhere, and she goes walking off. And then later, we're finding her bones in the woods. It just, I don't get what's going on with this case. So yeah, Victor says he asked them to check with the IP provider and finds out that they haven't done that. That was shocking. I would think if you want to solve a case, you would have checked those things, Victor said. I would think so too. Victor said he doesn't expect VIP treatment, but wonders if Bischoff should have been held for observation longer. I think that's a perfectly fair question. Releasing somebody, a small framed 5'3", 100 pounds, with no way to get home, no credit cards, no wallet, no cell phone, no car. What do you expect? Victor said. That is another troubling aspect to this case for me too. Like, that her car isn't with her. Isn't it kind of normal to have the thought that law enforcement should say, do you need a ride? Can we take you somewhere? It's the same questions that we had in the Matrice Richardson case. He wonders if his sister wandered into the creek by mistake. He said every scenario should be investigated. I think that's certainly a possibility, but remember, she's released early morning hours. I don't remember. I think if I recall right, some of the footage looked like it was sort of dark outside still. So maybe there's a possibility there. Had we done this back in the beginning, I think we would have maybe found, if it is her body, maybe we would have found it in different circumstances, Victor said. Now, especially if the medical examiner comes back and says, sorry, Victor, we can't make a strong determination here. It's just been too long. That's going to be a very hard thing for this brother to have to deal with for the rest of his life. And is he going to harbor some hard feelings about that? I'm pretty sure he is. Over at kctv5.com, we've got some other information, but I'm starting to wonder why. I don't know if this is just an accident on the reporting front, but some of the details in the story are starting to change. That always makes me nervous when we're talking about cases like this as well. Police had said that she didn't appear to be impaired when she left the station. I think we could have assumed that. Her body was found in late September. I don't know where that's coming from. They're not being very clear about their source, but we know that that's not true at all. It was in early July. But the pandemic prevented DNA results from coming back sooner. The testing was being done in Washington, D.C., so due to the pandemic, on top of other cases being investigated, the results took time to come back. I really wish they would have cited where they're getting that information from, and I really wish that they would go and correct this article, because we don't need false versions of this story floating around. Of course, now, if you have a medical examiner come out and say, oh yeah, we couldn't make a strong determination, and you've got media misreporting, well, her body was found several months after the fact instead of a month and a week, which is the reality of it. I don't know. I'm not saying that I think KCTV5 is doing something on purpose here. I think this is an accident, but it's a very unfortunate accident. And on to the case of Kenna Harris, missing from Snohomish, Washington, last seen March 31st, 2020. If you don't recall this case, we're going to go through some of the basics of it here with the New York Post. Harris, who suffered a traumatic brain injury during a car accident 6 years ago, had been missing since March 31st when she took a backpack and left her family's home. She then took a bus from Monroe to Snohomish, where relatives have said it was possible she got into someone's car at Snohomish Station, a shopping center where she was last seen. They may have been someone she recognized or someone friendly, according to the Facebook page. We have evidence that she did not have a plan for that day. Kenna is friendly, beautiful, and impulsive. Prior to her disappearance, Harris took her yoga mat and her daily medications along with $230 she withdrew from her account at Chase Bank. She then stopped at a Subway sandwich shop in Snohomish to ask if they had any gluten-free bread. An employee there was the last person who reported seeing Harris alive. We have an unfortunate update on this case. Human remains were found Saturday morning, this is in early October, during a search for missing Monroe woman, according to the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. Family confirmed the remains belonged to Kenna Harris. Quote, "As a family, we take comfort in the fact that Kenna is with God and we know we will be with her again one day," family wrote on the Please Find Kenna Harris Facebook page. Kenna was the sparkle in our family and our own personal rainbow. Deputies with the Sheriff's Major Crimes Unit and members of the Snohomish County Volunteer Search and Rescue Team conducted Saturday's search. A news release noted that they hadn't looked at that particular area in previous operations. The scene was being processed by sheriff's detectives and the Snohomish County Medical Examiner's Office. Now, here we have this discovery that has happened fairly recently, but in terms of when she went missing, we've got even a much larger gap than the gap of time that we had on Marina's case. Are we going to get any better details here? Over at Q13Fox.com, the Snohomish County Medical Examiner confirmed Tuesday that human remains found last week belonged to Kenna Harris, a woman who went missing earlier this year in Western Washington. Both the cause and method of death are listed as undetermined. This is, I've talked about this a little bit before. This is one of the worst outcomes for a case like this. Here we can see in the post that they actually made on Twitter that the remains that were recovered are partially skeletonized. So very hard to make a determination on what happened to Kenna here. I know some of the comments the family was making were kind of alluding to the fact that she could have been being groomed by someone. I think she was scheduled to work that day. All of a sudden she decided not to go to work. You know, she's taken some items that are kind of important, taken a bunch of money with her, traveling to this other part of town she doesn't go to a whole lot. But there's this other thing that's kind of nagging at me. You know, in a lot of these cases, I think there's an assumption that comes from law enforcement of, well, they probably went out there to end their own life. We have her stopping at a Subway sandwich shop, and she's concerned about trying to find gluten-free bread. Is that the mentality of someone that has gone somewhere to end their own life? I don't think so. And I'm not saying that we're hearing that assumption in this particular case. I'm just telling you, in many cases where we have results like this come through, that's kind of the sometimes vocalized, sometimes unspoken assumption. I hope somehow that this family gets better results than the answers that we have at this point. But this discovery is fairly recent. We don't know what might have been found with her. Are all the items still with her? Did it seem like she literally walked from the Subway sandwich shop to this particular area? Was there other stops along the way? Do we have some type of time frame of knowing about when she passed away? Does that line up with her and this trip that she had taken to this area? There's a lot of other things that could come into play here to help this family. And I truly, truly hope that they do. And on to another update, the case of Allan Bryant Jr., which you can tell from the thumbnail I'm showing here. This was on Searchlight in early 2017, I believe. Allan Bryant Jr. actually went missing back in 2013. Here we have a poster so I can share kind of the basics of the case since it's been so long since we've talked about it. Allan was last seen at 2 a.m. on Sunday, the 3rd of November, 2013, outside Styx nightclub in Caskie Barron Road, Glenrothes. He's 5'6" tall, medium build, with short brown hair and blue eyes, with tattoos on both arms. When last seen, he was wearing a t-shirt. They have pictured there with the stripes on it. 3 bands of color: navy on the top, gray in the middle, white on the bottom, black dark denim jeans, and gray leather plimsolls. In September of 2020, Allan's family was contacted. Family of missing Allan Bryant visited by police after human remains found. The family of a missing Fife man has been visited by police 7 years after their son, Allan Bryant, went missing from a nightclub in Glenrothes. Unidentified human remains were found on the White Hill Industrial Estate. Officers have launched a probe to identify the remains. Allan Bryant Sr. said, "My family had a visit from Glenrothes CID last night. They informed us that human remains were found at a local industrial estate, which is not far from our home. This is all my family know at the moment until the police and forensics carry out their investigation. This is a heartbreaking and distressing time for my family. We do not know if this is our son Allan or not. Thank you all so much for the continued support." And here we have kind of a map to identify his family's home up here to the north. About a 6-minute drive between there to the nightclub where he was known to be when he went missing. And then further past that, I believe it's another 5 or 6 minutes, is where this industrial estate, where these unidentified remains have been found. And here is a picture of Allan with his son. Unfortunately, this is something that the family has been through before. Quote, "We've been through this before, around 2 years ago, when someone else was found in the park. We are hoping it will be Allan. It would be some sort of closure and help us get on with our lives. Forensics will be there for several days. They explained to myself and Allan's mom what's actually happening. It will take a few days for DNA. If they find anything to say it's our son Allan, they will contact us straight away." Despite one of the biggest missing person searches ever undertaken by police in Scotland and a tireless campaign led by his family and their supporters, no trace has ever been found of him. Continuing, now we're getting into several days later, start of October. Police confirm Fife remains, not those of Allan Bryant Jr. or another missing person named Kenneth Jones. Despite the postmortem concluding the remains did not belong to either long-term missing person, the case is being treated unexplained by Police Scotland, and the remains and cause of death are still unexplained. A highly intricate investigation is still taking place, officers said. I just wanted to share this story with you too, because we're kind of seeing the other side of it here. And it's something that I don't want to say is highly debated, but it's something that's talked about a lot among families that have missing loved ones isn't it better to know, or is it not better to know? I'll never forget a quote I heard, which is, basically it was, "Screw knowing, because knowing killed my hope." And I think that it depends on who the person is in terms of what side of that equation is better to be on. But here we have a family that is put through being notified that a body's been found. Obviously, investigators think there's a possibility it's their son, and then they're in a waiting pattern while these tests are being run. Let's hear a little bit more about that with another article from thecourier.co.uk. Fife man Allan Bryant's family absolutely devastated after confirmation human remains aren't his. This time, they really hoped and believed the body parts uncovered by young boys on an industrial estate on September 27th belonged to Allan, Mr. Bryant revealed. Quote, "The past week has absolutely been hell for our family. The past weekend, this weekend, has been the worst yet. The major investigations team came to our house and told us the remains do not belong to Allan." Mr. Bryant Sr. said the 8-day wait for news has been totally unbearable. "We just talked about so many scenarios about what could have happened to Allan. How did he end up there on this industrial estate? What people don't understand when you have a long-term missing loved one is the worst has already happened. So we hoped the remains belonged to our son. Now another family will be devastated to hear it is their loved one. We will not stop until we find our son, until we actually get closure, until those who have harmed my son are brought to justice. The death remains unexplained, but if anyone has information that may help our inquiries, then please call Police Scotland on 101, quoting incident 2692 as of Sunday, September 27th, 2020. So this is a case I think it was worth sharing with you guys because, once again, I just wanted to demonstrate what these families go through. This is a case that's still open. It's a case that still needs help. Of course, we've got the contact details in the description box down below. I just can't believe a family having to go through this. And quite honestly, that's pretty normal. That's kind of a normal occurrence for a family that is facing a long-term missing loved one situation. At some point, there's going to be remains that are found nearby. Sometimes they'll be contacted by law enforcement. Other times they'll read about it in their local paper. And I think that insight that we got from Allan Bryant Sr. is just really important to remember. They spent 8 days trying to put together the puzzle of how Allan Bryant Jr. wound up at that particular location, driving themselves crazy doing it. And then they found out that wasn't even the case at all. That wasn't the truth. It wasn't him. I can't believe what some of these families have to go through to find their answers. And it's kind of interesting to me that his father also hits on the note that they are confident that they know that their son is no longer with them. They're just waiting for confirmation of finding out where he is and then trying to seek justice. Now, literally before I kicked on the camera to record this episode, I got a tweet. Thank you so much to the Brain Scratcher that tweeted this to me. It was about something that I think is kind of special, and I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope that you'll also check out for yourselves. And we have to start this story by learning a little bit of missing person, something very significant that happened in popular culture related to missing persons. And that was a song called Runaway Train. That was by a band called Soul Asylum. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people might say that Soul Asylum could have been considered a one-hit wonder, and Runaway Train is the thing that put them on the map. I know there's other people that would probably say, no, they've got a bunch of other great songs. I get it. But in terms of most popular culture, I think people associate Soul Asylum with Runaway Train, or at a minimum would say that Runaway Train is at least their most popular song. Here at Wikipedia, let's learn a little bit about it. Runaway Train is a power ballad by American rock band Soul Asylum. Its music video is notable for featuring images of missing people, most of them involving young children and adolescent teenagers. I'm sure many of you out there have seen the video or one of the videos. There were actually 3 original versions of the video in the United States, totaling 36 missing children shown. The children shown varied with the location of the broadcast, using missing children from that particular area. It's a beautiful idea. And if I recall correctly, I believe there was new edits of that video that happened where they were updating the video and adding new missing persons cases to it as well. Well, we have something kind of like that happening again now, and basically using the same song. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has launched a website, and honestly, this isn't new. I think this has been out for maybe close to a year now, but somehow I missed it, and I don't know why. I contribute to them every month. I think they should send this to everyone that makes donations, but runawaytrain25.com, and it is a new version of the song performed by different artists. Let me tell you who they are real quick. It is musical artist Jamie N. Commons and Skylar Gray featuring Gallant. But here's the cool thing about this song. First of all, they have where you can click to play video here, and it'll just play the music video for you. But the music video is using geolocation data to recognize where you are. And the missing persons profiles that appear in the video are specific to your location. For example, here in Minnesota, I just paused the video at one point, and we see they're talking about the case of Elijah Reinhardt, missing since April 26th, 2020. Very recent case from Duluth, Minnesota. So they're actually still feeding information into this system, despite the fact that this video was released before that case happened. It seems like, I don't know if they're tying it, maybe they're tying it to their existing database. It's just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. On top of being able to watch the version that is automatically generated for your area, they also have a method here where you can create a video for a missing child that you know. And it looks like it's hooking right into their database. So yeah, they're pulling from their database to make this work. But just such a brilliant idea, such a great use of technology. And honestly, I've always just loved the song, and I really loved what they did with the song in terms of raising exposure to missing persons cases. To know that it kind of lives on in this way, in this new version, very, very cool. And just one of the many reasons why I am so proud that on behalf of myself and my amazing supporters, that we support the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children every single month. And speaking of my amazing supporters, we have a few new patrons to thank. Thank you, Hillary Brown, and thank you, David Reese-Jones. Really appreciate both of you. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit www.lordandarts.com, where you can sign up for PayPal, sign up for Patreon, or buy merchandise. All of it helps keep me here, doing what I've been doing for years, trying to help these families in these terrible situations, and spending time with you. And I really appreciate being able to do both. So thank you guys so much that are supporting the channel. Take care, everyone. Hope you have a great day. I will see you back here on Friday with a brand new episode of Brainscratch on the Lord and Arts channel.